It's time for your daily dose of all things Chicago sports. This is the Daily Score. Now, here's your host, Mark Grote.
Hello and welcome into the Daily Score. I'm Mark Grote. We are talking about the Chicago Bears, and today at Haugh, the Bears offensive coordinator Luke Getsy took his turn at the lectern to take questions from the media. I was at Haugh, as I always am, and this is a while back to that Bears 12-10 win over Minnesota, but Luke Getsy was getting grilled after that game because of the spectacular amount of screen pass attempts that the Bears offense was going with, a Bears offense which on that day did not score any touchdowns, even though they were the beneficiaries of 4 interceptions by the Bears defense. So this is a long cut, but I think it's important to hear in full context and full questions from Luke Getsy about all the screen passes against Minnesota.
Luke, there was significant conversation coming out of the Minnesota game about how extraordinarily horizontal the passing attack was. After you rewatched everything, what was your kind of self-evaluation, self-critique of the passing game in that performance?
I thought Justin did a really nice job with a lot of that stuff. So a lot of it, what you see is like RPO-ish, right? You know, they come up and they're bringing all-out pressure, so you have to have an answer. And so maybe a time or two he didn't need to do it, and then they were able to get the leverage back to us. But I'd say the majority of the time, the guys did Mooney and EQ were unbelievable on the perimeter there last weekend, handling those blocks on the edges, and so that was a really good answer to the run game and in the way that we handled that. So and then a few times we had opportunities. I think there was 3 or 4 huge explosives that we lost because we maybe whether there was a protection or whatever happened, miscommunication from the backfield or up front, that we lost some opportunities there that to take advantage of that all-out pressure. So hit the big one with Cole on that 4th and 10. That was really good. Great to see Justin drift away from it too to create the extra time, and then Cole did the rest. So some good stuff. But they like we've talked about before, they bring a unique challenge to you that you have to have a different plan when there's 8 guys on the line of scrimmage.
The 3 or 4 that you referenced, so there's opportunities to hit it downfield if it had been fully executed properly. Yeah, for sure. We whether it was Justin handling the protection adjustment or whether it was the plan was should have been able to give us that opportunity, and then we just weren't able to connect on a couple of those, and that could have really that and the 2 turnovers, you take those it's a completely different game for sure.
Your game plan the first time you faced them didn't appear to be as extreme. What drove you in that direction?
Well, again, I think it became more extreme because there was more. I think that those weren't, you're at least half of those, you're not calling them to do that. That's the reaction because of what you're presented. And so as you go through those type of game plans, you want to have answers for your guys. And whether you're changing to a max protection, whether you're changing to a perimeter, RPO screen, whatever you want to refer to it as, like those are all different ways that we all, whether it's Cole on the delay, like all that stuff, there's a bunch of different ways that you can attack it. And I think it's really important when you play a team that does that much that you don't have too much for your guys too.
So some of that was, obviously Justin Fields' choice on those. Were those the right reactions? Did he go to that too many times?
Yeah, that's what, like I was said before, there was maybe 1 or 2 that he thought something and it really wasn't. But for the most part, Justin did a really nice job of diagnosing that stuff and seeing what they presented to us. And they do a great job of making everything look the same. So whenever they presented it, and sometimes they got out of it, we were still able to, get that, out-leverage them. Like I said, Mooney and EQ did a great job last week. There's 2 or 3 of those that were really high-level blocking on the outside and sprung DJ pretty good there.
Inside your system, how much freedom do you give the quarterback at the line of scrimmage to go off of based off what they see, or are there a certain number where after a certain point we're doing what we're doing?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, the QB has the ultimate decision, right? So whatever he says goes. And so when you play teams that are going to do different things, or even like kind of, you have your training camp opportunities where you just have these base rules. And when you get presented these things, the quarterback has these triggers to get to. And, that team just specifically just brings more of that out of you than normal. And, but the quarterback has complete control for sure.
When I played that cut from Luke Getsy on the radio on the Score, and I'm wondering if you guys listening to this podcast right now are having the same reaction. A lot of people thought that sounded like Luke Getsy throwing Justin Fields under the bus. And I guess you can I guess you could say that because he did say that, on 50% of those plays, you're not calling those plays, that these are Justin Fields' options. And you heard about some of the control that Luke Getsy says Justin Fields has. But I look at it as more, we're getting some honesty out of Luke Getsy. And Justin Fields is a different style of quarterback, and I think part of what he is talking about there is that in terms of the running and all of that, and what his desires are on certain plays. But this doesn't mean Justin Fields is bad. Doesn't mean I don't like him. Doesn't mean that Luke Getsy doesn't like him. It just means that, hey, here's what happened in the game. This is what we're dying to know. Why the hell were there so many screen passes? Well, some of it is Justin Fields' choice. And I'm not saying Luke Getsy is far from exempt from criticism for his work as a collective. So far, your quarterback, Justin Fields, has not developed into what I think a lot of people thought he was going to be as the number 11 overall pick. So that goes on Luke Getsy and it goes on Justin Fields. But I did think it was interesting, and I am curious as to how you guys would react to or are reacting to what Luke Getsy said right there. One more cut from Luke Getsy. I think one of the things that we have been trying to figure out this year, and I have not really gotten a satisfactory answer from the player, Darnell Mooney, that's the player we're about to talk about, nor coaches, on why hasn't Darnell Mooney really benefited. Like when we were in camp and you had DJ Moore there, I was like, man, it's going to be a big year for Darnell Mooney because he could be the beneficiary of the work that a star receiver like DJ Moore does. So the question to Getsy is, why? Why has DJ Moore seemingly not benefited?
Yeah, Mooney's doing a lot of really good things. I think it's just sometimes, DJ's getting a lot of the action, Cole's getting a lot of the action, and then Mooney's been sprinkling in there. And like I've said before, Cole and Mooney are really big situational football guys for us. They stand, the plays are designed for those guys. When you get to the gold zone, when you get third down situational, those guys, and then you have this added element of a quarterback who can run the football, right? So that takes away a little bit away from those opportunities, if you will, maybe that just a traditional offense would run with more targets going all over the place.
And I think it was interesting too, and I mentioned Cole Kmet in there, and I think that's a big part of this too. Look at this now, the targets this year. Cole Kmet, 68 targets, Darnell Mooney, 42. So some of this is the development of Cole Kmet, another guy that we've been sort of pushing in a figurative sense to develop. Come on, man, we want more from this guy, especially when he gets to the 50 mil though. Kmet on the year, 56 catches for 482 yards and 5 touchdowns. Again, like I said, Darnell Mooney, 42 targets, 25 catches, 351 yards, and a TD. The reason that we're always on this trail is because Darnell Mooney is a 1,000-yard receiver who a lot of people, including me, thought was going to have a really big year this year. DJ Moore, of course, has the most targets, 93 targets, 70 catches, 1,003 yards on the season. The last cut of the show today. The final cut comes from one of the big guys on defense. He is Montez Sweat. And one of the themes in the Bears locker room over the last couple of days when I've been there for the open locker room is the fact that the Bears are forcing turnovers, 4 interceptions, 8 turnovers in the last 2 games, 7 of those interceptions. And Montez Sweat and those big guys on the front line are certainly helping the secondary because of their pressure.
Yeah, this is a good group before I got here. It's a great group now. So, I mean, I'm just here to help. Them guys on the back end is really like no back end I ever played with. It's a great back end, so I'm just here for the ride.
And what's it like when your pass rush pays off with a turnover?
Shit, it's that shit like poetry in motion, man. Yeah, that's what you want.
You're just here for the ride?
Yeah, man, I'm just here for the ride, man. Good ride.
Brown guy?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I just got a kick out of that. I like his laugh. Montez Sweat right there, dropping a couple of shit bombs. I just got off the radio where you can't say shit, and I still feel weird saying it because there's like microphones all over the place. But he said it. I said it. We got no bleeper here. That's right. We don't have to do that. But like Montez Sweat effect has been great. He talked about how he's still kind of getting used to the defense. He's looking pretty comfortable all of a sudden. So that's a really good sign for the Bears and obviously for Ryan Poles and some of the foundational pieces that he is putting together in theory. That is all for the Daily Score today. Thank you for listening and watching. We always appreciate it. For our executive producer, Ray Diaz, I am Mark Grote. I will talk to you tomorrow on the Daily Score.